I'm not creating trees. I'm creating people that creating trees. So with this trident maple forest, this is started from seedlings that we have here in the nursery. So normally we start with young seedlings and we place them in a 9 centimeter pot and let them grow as raw material for forests. And then we select finally some older ones from 5 years, some younger ones from 2 years, and a whole mix that we have different trunk sizes. As you can see on the examples here, there is planting on a wooden plate, and we planted a lot of trees together on a wooden plate and make a big image. That's because we want to let them grow to each other, and we can start to prune inside and try to give our branch structure already. So the work on the wooden plate is actually a couple of years. And then a first repotting comes, and you see the next picture where we have our first drastically repotting in a pot. We removed it from the wooden plate and we place it in a smaller pot. Then we place the trees closer to each other again. So a whole new forest comes up, and some trees that are not working in total are not playing in the game anymore. So again, a couple of years in this training pot, and finally we come to the final repotting. And after repotting in the training pot, in the tokonami pot, we go to the final repotting and put it on an open slab. This is a slab from Jan Kulek. Jan is making nice slabs actually. He is the original maker. Now there are many copies also. Then to put it on a slab, all the straight trees, I put a lot of more soil mixture here in the middle, and then I could bend this over. So this is now, this open growing image is made by the last repotting when we put it here on a hill, put it down, and then we have the combination of an open landscape. We can look through it. Also here we are in the process of, now the scissor has to come next autumn, and this is the time that we actually make our forest. This branch structure is now gonna bring the difference. We're not seeing enough the striptease. We have to look more open in the whole structure, but this is now work in progress. But if you see the whole evolution already from young seedlings till now, there is already a good result in about 10-12 years time.
What do you think, how many years must it be on the slab before you have to use new soil?
On a slab it's more easy to work with, because on a slab you can do also an easy repotting. It is fixed with wire, but if we cut the wire, we can lift it up, we can lay another layer without repotting and put it on top of it and continue. Because all this keto, actually if we remove the moss, we will see the roots already coming through the keto mixture. And a slab is more interesting than a pot for a big rock planting. The water can disappear, it can breathe more easily. So it's, this is more and better than a pot actually. But before we repot on a slab, he's repotted now last spring, I think you can go easily for another 5 years. So as you see here, this is a blauww variety. This is not a Chinensis, this is a Juniper blauww, media blauww. So also this is normal garden material, like you saw it in our nursery. styled a couple of times, and it is more important the ramification and the pads. It looks like a chinensis, but it grows much slower. And also to get this compact foliage, we need to thin out. But again, the same story with the scissor. Again, for this variety, you will bring this tree in a poor condition if you start to pinch. So this is all scissor work, even every year. If the tree grows slower, it's more in detail, the scissor work, but you have to keep going. Sometimes it's now 1 centimeter and we do it already. In the beginning it was 5 centimeters and we let it develop. But as you see, everything is standing there. There is not one wire. There is not one tree with wire. Not in my nursery, not with my students. The wire comes when it's necessary. And here I think we can go at least for another 3 to 4 years without wire before we're gonna say it's time to bring him to next level. Then the wire comes up again. And then we select some branches and we do some inside work where we can open more and make some more open spaces. But now we reached already our steps with open spaces. What is so important with that kind of trees made from a piece of raw material from a garden plant? The open spaces can be here. You see this angle is an important open space. This is an important open space. This is an important open space. This is an important open space. You have to give all these open spaces, and still the more you go upwards, the younger feeling you get. This can be more dense, but still there is an open space. You have this feeling, it is already an old tree somewhere on a cliff hanging over with his branch. This feeling he gives you, but in reality it's something that is only 5 years in training. 5, 6 years intensively training, and this will reach to the step of every bonsai beginner that do the right steps can be there in a very short time in an important exhibition. But also now you see the small pot, not too big, he can carry, he's also there, you see the pot is there. If you look good, this tree and many of those trees are not in the pot, they are above the pot level. So we are not repotting a tree in the pot. In the pot there is your mixture where he has to grow. This is the space that he needs to grow healthy. Your tree is there above and the roots are in it. So they have space enough and we work it up. This is not only for the view, this is also botanical, very interesting. You give more space by doing this. So placing in a pot and all that kind of techniques are very important. So this is worked with easy material. You see also the display. I try to bring some difference in make your own material. Instead of the story you have to tell, do it in some bamboo. We have everything in our club, table makers, painters. So I give them the free hand, I'm just teach them and guide them in some ways. So with this Salcovanire, it was the whole idea to keep it in the mid-size or 2-inch size, keep it as small as possible. So we started also with a piece of raw material. And again, this is like all the trees that we discussed. It is in the low budget category, the normal commercial cheap material actually, where we start with. And pruned everything back, brought it from nearly double trunk to one single trunk. Then there was not underneath the perfect yamadori, it was a little bit narrow underneath and we have to layer it off, and we layer it off above this narrow point. So we make the tree smaller, but also we improved then the root base. So the whole process, it is also important to inform the people when they start on a project like this, and this is what we tell from the beginning. If you start with that piece of material, these are the steps what we are going to do. It's not that, oh, this is a surprise, you have a piece of raw material. This is not like we're working. It's, do you want to step in that kind of process? Do you want to make this whole program and experience this whole program of layering and making new roots and the nursery, build your nursery by yourself in a bigger pot, and finally you come in that small pot, and also open this branch structure and give it also a natural approach, is the whole process. So what is important, that even with low budget, it is not the budget that makes it, it is the steps that you want to take. It is the commitment that you want to make over the years, again and again and again, for these improvements. It's a lifestyle. Your tree is there, he's finished, but like everybody knows, it's never finished. But how can you improve? You don't have to be drastically pruning work, drastically bending, drastically wiring. Step by step, improving and making a tree older. And even this tree was presented at the last exhibition, and now we have already our image of our tree. So today I show them also the improvement of your table can also be done. So we now bringing the subject table, and if you see the last picture on the table and you see it now, this is an improvement. Also, this goes together with the tree. If this image is now finished, now this is now temporary, it looks fine. Our next branch structure is already laid out, and we're gonna further. Finding the right pot. Also here, you see, the pot is not too big, is not too small. You're changing the soil color. It's more iron-ish, it's more like it goes over in this moss layer. And I always count on, when I select a pot, there is moss in between the trunk and the pot. This is something where I think on if the color's going over. You know, you have to think on everything finally to make this fluency going over in the trunk. We also on purpose let the moss growing a little bit, because this is by the natural part. Our philosophy is probably slightly different than most others, but we try to come as close as possible by, I find this tree in nature. And also the presentation in the pot is like that.
Okay, we see here in the tokonoma side you also work with colored backgrounds.
Yeah.
And also fit very well.
Yeah. So we decided when we built this, I want to have different backgrounds, especially in different kind of seasons they are working well, but also with different kind of trees they are working well. So we choose every time a background color that is different. And so now the future plan is to build a traditional tokonoma in the entrance. We're going to remove the old tokonoma and we're going to make a more traditional way. We're going to put a wooden floor in it, so we have some more. But those backgrounds are very interesting, especially in autumn colors, and we can go to that more yellow. And then in winter time, when we have the ramification of the branches, we can go more to the colors of gray. So it is important, and also the different way of displaying. So now all the students did their best here to make a display, and yeah, they're choosing a color, they're choosing a background, and they're choosing also the information. So what is the information in a display? What kind of scroll you are using? What kind of... so you want to tell actually where is your tree located, and then you can make some connections. What kind of season is it in is also a nice connection. So for some things you can find it back. With other things you only okay, he's located somewhere there in the environment of the mountains. So this is something made by a French friend, Patrice Bongrand. It's also a bonsai artist, but really a famous ceramist, actually, also a good potter. And this is an artwork from him. And this can replace easily a scroll that is telling you something. Okay, we have here Mount Fuji, or we have whatever, we have a mountain with snow on, and you can use it. And also then we do it with a water stone underneath. So the way of displaying is by everybody a different approach. What you want to tell, the only thing that's important is try to let the people filling in their experience. What are they feeling? Maybe it's completely different. That's what you try to set up, but they have a different experience and feel something different. Maybe it's okay, maybe it's negative, maybe they don't understand. There are many different ways of, but tell your story. So this juniper is also a little bit longer in training. If you look to the pictures of this juniper, we started in that time with a very raw material. That must be somewhere end the 90s or something. As the junipers that were available then from Japan. So that was not so special, and now they are all spoiled. They have all extremely good material that comes in that time. And again, I'm talking about people that were in that time just started with bonsai. So those were already the people that could spend a little bit more on a tree, but also not that. If you compare the prices now, you say, whoa. Then we talk now about, okay, this is, that was in that time about €150 material. So that was in that time expensive.
Yes, yes.
And from there that was a start, but nothing was what it is now. It is completely made. So for us it's also important that people look for their own raw material, and then they can explain me, what did you see in it? And then we can start to discuss, is this realistic? Because you only, and most of them, buy a piece of material where they see already a little bit of the tree in it. And here it ends always completely different. Always it turns up in something I didn't know that this was in it. And we're not doing by heavy bendings or strange angles. When it's necessary, we do it. But it is the process over the years. Trees like that, first training pot, you're getting somewhere, you start to come somewhere. You go in a little pot, try to, and it has a reason. When we go in a little pot, it is okay, we want to reach this final image for the first time, but it is more, we want to reach the compact root ball. We're preparing the root ball as compact as possible in a good quality roots, removing thick roots, leaving all the smaller roots to make this mushy, comey feeling long time in the pot. So this is all during the repottings that we prepare. So sometimes we're using a smaller pot that looks already like the final pot, but it is building up the root ball. Make this root ball ready for the extremely small pot. And sometimes we do the completely way around. Here there is a pot that is too big. We give a lot of volume on the pot because we're gonna make this tree more old Chinese and give this volume on all the pads, also without wiring. Open it again with this empty space feeling, but away from Japanese style, away from normal European style, going back to the old Chinese way of not even penging, and being there somewhere in the middle. And also this pot have to bring also this feeling back. So those are all different approaches that, can you see this, can you feel this? If you understand it, it's fine. But this is again a step in the right direction, because this young branch here is now well developed. You have already a respectable age, but we are not there yet. There is still some more to do. This is recently, you know. Yeah. Recently we removed here to make this space open. So again, this part of the striptease show is started. And now we see more the deadwood, we can see more in the depth. And maybe if we come to our process of thinning out and put everything in balance with the trunk size, we're gonna end up with a smaller pot. Also, this Tamarix is a typical example of a beginner's tree, well developed till what it is now. It was, as you can see on the photos, a very, very simple clumb where the owner practiced actually the deadwood. But the main important thing is the weeping branches. Tamarix is actually, when he's old enough, he's growing like that, but when he's younger, it all grows upwards. So this older image, we do this with the presentation above the water, and you see the hanging branches like the weeping style in it. But it's important that you create different angles, like a very short one, a little bit longer, a very short one, and it follows up each other till you have that kind of result. Also this takes some years, I think. First start will be 2013. 2013, because when you start with nearly no branches and you have to make branches that stays forever on a Tamarix, you need every step 3 years before they are thick and mature enough that they hold. With the pot choice, we go more or less similar as the style. All these details, you see this detail? Yeah. The weeping detail is in the pot. Also this curve here, those are also the curves that you see in the inside lines. We choose for a round pot also for the style, but it is again a different approach of, do you make a connection? Not only choosing a nice pot, but you can feel it, and also there, the pot is not really the main subject, but his presence is there. You can see it, it's a nice combination, that's good, but you can tell your story from here to the top. So actually, this is where it's all about when you're selecting pots. And this is again a very beautiful example of starting with easy material. Try to teach people, okay, you have, take your time, and with Tamarix you lose some and you win some. Some spring you say, okay, this branch is not coming up anymore, and you have to replace it. And then when you have to replace it, you have to think, okay, I cannot replace a young branch between all the older ones, so I need another 3 years to find his good position there. So also when the owner brought the tree, I discussed with him already, we have to remove some branches out of this tree by the next step. We are gonna make it more simple, more easy for the eyes to observe the whole thing. So he's always looking surprised to me, because then I let him cultivate many branches, and then we keep selecting and minimalizing, but it's always in advantage of the total view of the tree. What we still have to look for when we remove a branch is, don't let some live veins die off. Whatever the position of the branch is, check it first carefully if the connection root branch is not connected by one single live vein that can die. Because then we don't make the choice. These live veins are beautiful. This is the years. So pruning the wrong branch can also give you another front 3 years later and everything. So we want to avoid all this kind of situations. So every single pruning that we make is well thought about it. These are be the consequences, or these are going well. Yeah. So also this is in the process of step by step. It's not just judging from, oh, this branch is too much on the tree and I should remove. Think on the consequences. Maybe positive, maybe negative.